Q&A with Major League Wrestling's Alex Hammerstone, part 1. So here we go. Let's go ahead and do it. Question number 1. What is your weekly gym schedule like?
Right now, I'm just training twice a day on days when I'm home from the road. And then when I'm traveling, I don't stress as much anymore. I used to always have to hit the gym on the road, but nowadays I just focus on when I'm home, I kill it. If I'm on the road, if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, no sweat.
Question number 2. What do you normally eat in one day?
It's very much the same crap over and over. Lots of eggs, chicken, beef, rice, protein shakes. But hey, if it's one of those days where the girl wants to go out for burgers or I feel like we need to order a pizza, uh, I can make that happen.
Awesome. How many calories do you think you consume a day? Like what's your target goal?
Uh, it's got to be around 4 to 5 thousand right now. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down, but that's typically what it takes to keep me at the size I am.
Right. Question number 3. What's the worst diet trend or exercise that you have ever done?
Oh my gosh. Doing keto. Doing keto was awful. Just the worst I've ever felt. I just every day was awful. I just couldn't wait for it to end.
Question number 4. Who are your most listened to artists on your gym playlist?
Oh, my gym playlist. Oof. I like some of the kind of like the newer school metal stuff, like As They Dine and August Burns Red. I don't shy away from like some dubstep, some Skrillex. But I'm gonna be completely honest. Sometimes I like some like mainstream pop songs, like that what's her name, Olivia Rodrigo or something.
Stop it.
She's
You
got a
listen to Olivia Rodrigo? That's my cup of tea.
listen.
What's your favorite song?
It's whatever the one is that everyone the one that's on the
Driver's
radio. It's
license?
no. The it's like the come on
Good
the
for
big
you?
pop one. That's the one. That's the one. Listen, sometimes a good pop song gets me going.
Question number 5. What is your biggest gym pet peeve?
Oh, guys who take their shirts off in the middle of the gym to like look at themselves in the mirror, or even just like pulling the shirts up, to like look at their abs. Yeah, that's one that doesn't fly. That's what the locker room is for.
You're like, wait till you get home at least, right?
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Question number 6. How do you spend a day off?
Let's see. Okay, we got right there. I try to play my guitars, spend some time with the dog, and just spend some time at home with the family. I'm very much a homebody. I like to be home. I like to, just relax and let this beat up body be lazy sometimes.
I hope you guys all enjoyed this Q&A with Alex Hammerstone. I'll see you on the next video. Enjoy the rest of Wrestling Observer Live. Wrestling Talk with Impact Wrestling's Mike Bailey. Mike Bailey discusses wrestling around the globe and the major differences between several different cities and countries.
So, yes, absolutely. I'm glad you asked because that's one of my favorite topics in professional wrestling, as well as one of the things that I learned the most through traveling pro wrestling. In order to have like a successful performance, you need to understand the context, right? Why you're doing what you're doing, why you're wrestling a certain way. And I think that pretty much all wrestling exists on a spectrum between Japan and Mexico, where in Mexico, the way it is mostly, like, of course there are always exceptions, and it's just some place in Mexico, it's, oh, the lucha's in town, let's go, let's watch it, let's get drunk. And so they don't really care unless someone in a like brightly colored costume is doing a double backflip off the top rope. They're not really paying attention, right? Whereas in Japan, when I wrestled for DDT, you had the same 50, 75, 100 audience members at every single show, no matter where in Japan. So in Japan, if you did like little details, like if you try a move, like every match for a month, and then you finally hit it, the people really pay attention. They understand what you're doing because
They catch on to that stuff.
Yes. In Mexico, there is no chance they would have any idea what you're doing. Which comes to things like finishers. I think the finisher is a good example of that. When I wrestle for indie shows in England, for example, the audience kind of knows, kind of pays attention, but it's a small percentage, and there's so many awesome matches on an absolutely stacked show there's no way that they'll be able to remember what moves I do. So if someone kicks out of my finisher, it honestly does not matter, because the next time I come to wrestle for, let's say, title in Leeds, they will have absolutely no memory of what the guy they saw a month ago's finisher is. They have jobs, they have lives, they're not paying attention to what my moves are. But in Japan, people are paying attention. People know, people remember. There are magazines covering it, and you're wrestling a lot more frequently, so it becomes a lot more easy for people to pay attention and keep track of the stories and the evolutions of the moves of the wrestlers. So I mean, understanding that is a big thing, is a big part of wrestling success. And it's like, there's a reason lucha is the way it is. There's a reason it's it's flashy. It's mostly, a lot of it's unrealistic, but that's fine, because it doesn't need to be realistic to be successful. It needs to be impressive, and it needs to be good lucha, and good lucha is what it is for a very specific reason. It's rewarding, I think, is the perfect word to describe what it is. To have an audience that pays attention and understands like the small details behind what you're doing is really one of my favorites. Like, Japan is easily one of my favorite places to wrestle for that exact reason.
I hope you guys enjoyed this portion of the interview with Mike Bailey. Enjoy the rest of Wrestling Observer Live. Q&A with Impact Wrestling's Mike Bailey, Part 1. This is my favorite way for, the people watching to get to know you as a person and who you are, outside of the wrestling ring. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Here we go. Question number 1. Who are your top 3 all-time favorite wrestlers?
Okay. Tiger Mask 1, Satoru Sayama. Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay.
Question number 2. What's the coolest city you have ever wrestled in and a city you would like to wrestle in?
I have wrestled. So Tokyo is the coolest city. I think it's the best city for professional wrestling. It's for a reason. It's the city that has like probably the most pro wrestling shows on a daily basis. I would love to wrestle in Moscow. I'd love to wrestle in Russia. I think Russia is a place that will have a booming wrestling scene sometime soon, but doesn't quite yet. And I know there's interest for wrestling there, and it looks fascinating.
Number 3, what is the best Canadian snack or restaurant that you don't see here in the United States?
Okay, so I could talk about poutine forever and the rules behind it and what make it poutine, because it's only 3 ingredients. It's French fries, gravy, and curd cheese, but it's so easy to mess up. In fact, I know this because that was a topic of conversation this weekend.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's get it on.
You're out. Let us get it on, even though we are not ready at all. Mike Sempervive here with you for the next hour, talking professional wrestling and mixed martial arts, something we do every single day here on the Sports Byline Broadcasting Network. And however you're joining me today, tune in iHeart, American Forces Radio, Sirius XM 156, podcast, streaming on Twitch or on YouTube or on sportsbyline.com. Just want to thank you for spending a little bit of time with me today. I think it's going to be us, but that's still to be determined right now. If it's us, it is going to be myself and Filthy Tom Lawlor. And I got a lot to get into with Filthy Tom today, so hopefully all of our connection issues can sort themselves out and he can jump on the program. He is on the road right now. New Japan Strong tapings taking place in Hollywood, California, coming up on Thursday night at the Vermont Hollywood. I hope this is on video right now. Filthy struggling with the phone right now. Cheap hotel phones. So we got to talk to Rocky Romero about some of the accommodations for some of the men they are putting up in these hotels, for heaven's sakes. But Filthy is going to be involved in a very big elimination match coming up. We're going to talk about that, as well as how you can help out Filthy Tom Lawlor, put a little bit of money in his pocket, as well as sending the message to New Japan Pro Wrestling that you want to see Filthy in the G1. You want to see him over in Japan. You can help him out with that by hooking up with the online meet and greet, which is going to be taking place tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Pacific. We'll get into the specifics on that as well. Plus, last night's NXT 2.0 Vengeance Day, I thought it was a damn good show. I really did. Figures that Brian's not here on a day where I'm about to spread a little praise all over NXT, but I thought the show was very, very good. Unfortunately, being on Sci-Fi probably did a number on the ratings, but if you're going to replay a show on USA at some point next week, I think this would be a good one to do it with. We got news on Cody Rhodes. We got AEW Dynamite coming up tonight. And hopefully, Filthy Tom Lawlor will be back, Wrestling Observer Live.
If you go on Google Image and put in poutine, 90% of the images you see on the first page are not poutine.
What?
Yeah, they're not. I'm sorry. If you have like... that's another 30-minute conversation. But yeah, all dressed ruffles, the legendary all dressed ruffles, which I'm sure you've heard about.
I have actually, yeah.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, the best chips in the world, the best snack. I mean,
Never had them, but I have seen like people talk about it, but I've never experienced them.
there's hype for a reason. It's not just hype. It's not just a myth or something. They're really the best potato chip flavor.
Interesting. All right. Question number 4. If someone could play the movie of your life, who would you want it to be?
I would want it to be animated. And I would want my character to be voiced by Joe Pera.
Oh, okay. Okay.
If you don't know who Joe Pera is, please YouTube him. He's known for a very specific voice. But I would want it to be animated and voiced by Joe Pera.
Is it like a deep voice, like squeaky voice?
It's a very soothing grandpa-like voice.
Very like ASMR sort of thing, calms you down,
Yes.
relaxes
Yes,
you.
exactly.
Okay. Thank you for watching my Q&A with Mike Bailey. We will be back with another part.
Wrestling Observer Live with Brian Alvarez and Mike Sempervive on the Sports Byline Broadcast.
You're on.
Welcome back to the show. Mike Sempervive here with you, Wrestling Observer Live. Boss man Brian Alvarez on his way to Hawaii, which means for all you ASMR kids out there, me and you again. There you go. That one's for you. It's a Red Bull, blueberry. I need a much stiffer drink than that, though, for some of the production issues that we were having. And I believe all of the tin cans have now been strung together throughout the country. And I believe that Filthy Tom Lawlor is here on the line with us. Filthy, are you there?
I believe that is correct, although you can either confirm or deny it for me right now. Am I live?
We're doing it live, pal. Yeah, we are live. We sound like we're in an AM radio station from like 1937, but yeah, we're here.
Oh, awesome. Well, I'll take what I can get. And, thanks for the plug earlier about tonight's upcoming online meet and greet. You know, Mike, I go and I wrestle virtually every weekend, and I never take merchandise. I don't hawk products for people like I'm Toru Yano. I prefer to let my talking be done in the ring, my selling be done on the mat. And when I come to a point like this where I can, try to influence my own career through this online meet and greet and sell some shirts and have the fans show New Japan Pro Wrestling that they want to see more of me overseas fighting the best, not only on New Japan Strong, but in New Japan proper. I figure that I'm going to take advantage of the resources that I have because this has been a goal of mine my entire life, as long as I can remember. So let's make it happen.
This is a really cool deal, and we're going to be getting into not only the online meet and greet that's going to be taking place tonight, but obviously the big show, the tapings that are coming up tomorrow out in California right now, where Filthy is out on the road. And I want to, again, thanks for, joining me today, Filthy. But, I don't know if you have much of an opinion on this. I got to start with it. Cody Rhodes, a little bit more news has dribbled out today about his exit from AEW. This is up on the main page over at WrestlingObserver.com right now. It's an SI.com report about the former AEW vice president rejoining WWE, but will be doing it without his wife, Brandy. And I'm going to read from it right now for you. Sports Illustrated's Justin Barrasso reported on Wednesday, the quote, sources close to the situation have confirmed that his next destination will be back where his career started in WWE, unquote. There was no time frame given, but the report speculated Rhodes could begin filming vignettes at the Performance Center as soon as this weekend. Barrasso's sources also stated that Cody's wife, Brandy, is not expected to join him in WWE. If that is the case, it is unknown where her in-ring career would continue if she wants to pursue it. If you had a chance to hear Dave Meltzer along with Garrett Gonzalez on the website for subscribers, a Wrestling Observer Radio special edition that they did yesterday, Dave seemed to indicate that Brandy would want to continue her in-ring career as she was exiting AEW. She was tied up with Paige Van Zant and the deal with Dan Lambert. Barrasso, it goes on here to say that Barrasso noted that while Rhodes' May 2016 departure from WWE after a decade due to creative differences with his portrayal and specifically the Stardust character, quote, those issues will be a non-factor in this return where he's expected to have a far different relationship with the writing team and McMahon, unquote. Those could be famous last words. We have heard that from people in the past. That sometimes it has worked out well, sometimes it has not. There is a part of this report that does note, and it is important to point out here, and I'll go ahead and wrap it up and throw it to Tom. And this is in a direct quote from the article that states that while Rhodes was never intended to overstay his welcome in the world title picture, one key factor that led to his exit was losing all responsibilities involving booking. This is a role where Khan, who is head of creative, has taken full reign. Originally, Rhodes was part of that process. As great as Dusty Rhodes Rhodes was as a performer. His contributions as a booker are an integral part of his legacy. For Rhodes, AEW represented another chance to pay homage to his father as a booker while also further cementing his own legacy. Losing that opportunity in AEW hurt Rhodes more than any losses he suffered in the ring, unquote. There was the situation a couple of years ago in December where Tony Khan famously consolidated power. Things were too spread out and all over the place, and he wanted to be the final word on things. And that is exactly what happened, and that may be where some of these problems, obviously, it seems like that's where some of these problems kind of were created, Filthy. And, you know, I obviously you have an active in-ring career and are not looking probably to speak too much about anybody performing or any other promotion out there that you could conceivably work for in the future here. But this is from a wrestling point of view and from a fan, really, as you a fan, you know, what do you think about Cody Rhodes going back to WWE, a place that people have been just dying to get out of, and leaving AEW, and in addition to that, leaving things like, I would assume, the Go Big Show and maybe some outside projects?
Yeah, this is a major, major news story, a major development, not only for the fact that one of the main eventers of the competing promotion to WWE, the top promotion in the country, is now coming back in a starkly different role than they had before. But also, if you look at the bigger picture now, you would think that this opens up the door for other wrestlers who perhaps are not happy with what's going on in AEW, to look at WWE either as, you know, an opportunity to go back there and perhaps make things different, or to debut there in the first place. And, you know, this could be the sign of a further paradigm shift, you know, in the direction of Nick Khan kind of taking control. You know, no doubt he sees what Cody's done not only in AEW but with the Warner Media properties, and, you know, sees value in Cody in that realm as well, even if Cody's not going to get reality shows, even if there's not going to be a road to the top, even if, you know, Brandy's not going with him. And if we could touch on that subject for a second, you know, Brandy Rhodes, maybe her in-ring career is not going to continue in AEW, and, you know, you mentioned it looks like she's not going to be part of the package in WWE or NXT, but what about bare knuckle? She's already in the feud with Paige Van Zant, right? Why not
That's
get
true.
Brandy Rhodes and BKFC? Knucklemania this weekend too, I think.
Oh my gosh.
Coming up.
Has Paige won a fight in bare knuckle yet? I mean, I've seen the after effects of some of her fights, and she it did not look pretty from what I recall. Has she actually taken any victories in this, or?
I believe that every sign up or new account created on her fan websites are a big victory. So I'm sure she, you know, won a lot over the past few years, but I don't believe so in BKFC.
Is she fighting to stay in the public eye enough where she can draw people to the OnlyFans? I mean, that is an interesting reason to go on to continue fighting. And I'm not, you know, throwing it under the bus at all. I mean, I think, hey, if that's what works for you, I mean, it's an interesting way to get there. But it's almost kind of what it feels like, because she's got to be making a ton off the OnlyFans stuff. She's out there promoting that stuff all the time.
Hey, she knows where her money is made. You know what I mean? There were people leaving WWE due to issues over social media accounts and, you know, Twitch streams and stuff like that. So you've got to go where the money is. You know, I mean? I'm sure she's made a ton. I don't know how we've got onto a conversation about Paige Van Zant's earnings, but I'm sure she's made a ton, not only from fighting and being able to market herself, but also being able to market herself outside of that.
I'll tell you how we did that, because I have some more thoughts, but they were going to be pushing into the break, so that was a nice way to segue into the music that you're hearing right now. Ladies and gentlemen, guess what? You're also hearing Filthy Tom Lawlor, which means everything's working right now. We'll see if it still is after the break. Wrestling Observer Live.
Morphomania with Peter Avalon, round 1. I'm going to play Face Morphomania with Peter Avalon. And basically what I do is I get 2 images of 2 different wrestlers and I morph them into one person that you've never seen before. Your job, Peter, is to try and figure out who are those 2 wrestlers. You get 3 guesses, and if not, then you just don't get it. You fail. But this is a really fun game, and these are all AEW wrestlers. So all AEW. All right. So let's go ahead and do it. Let's play Face Morphomania. Number 1. Who are the 2 wrestlers morphed in to this photo?
Oh, that's Cody.
Correct.
Oh my God. Is that the actor? The Green Arrow actor? Forgot his name.
Oh, Stephen Amell? No, but good observation. No, but it's not Stephen Amell. You got 2 more guesses.
It's Cody and Mox?
Nope, not Mox. 1 more guess.
Ugh. Whose eyes are that? Is that...
I would say maybe look at the nose and the mouth a little bit. I kind of see it there.
Is that Eddie?
Who did you say? Eddie Kingston?
Is that Eddie?
No, it's not Eddie Kingston. All right, so you did not pass this one. You did get the Cody part right, but it was Cody and Bryan Danielson.
Oh.
Yeah, it's more of like you can see the nose and then like the eyes, like the squinting of the eyes.
Man, I'm blind. This is terrible.
Alrighty, so next one up, number 2. This game's a lot harder than people think. All right, number 2, here we go. Who are the 2 women morphed into this photo here?
Yikes. I have no guesses. Unbelievable. Are the eyes Kylan King?
It's not Kylan King, no.
That's 1 guess down.
2 more guesses.
Britt Baker?
Yes, that's 1.
Oh, no.
You're like...
Serena Deeb?
Back on the show, Mike Sempervive here with you. Filthy Tom Lawlor. This is a Wrestling Observer Live. The big boss man on his way to Hawaii. Hopefully everything is going smooth for he and his family. He will be back. For subscribers, Wrestling Observer Radio, he and Dave Meltzer. And then everything goes back to normal, at least until next week when he comes back. And then we'll probably have a whole rigmarole about this show again. And hopefully we'll be talking about a victorious Filthy Tom Lawlor who led his team to victory. Although I guess we really can't talk about that since it's a TV taping, right?
Correct. I will sign a non-disclosure agreement. Mike, if we can go back for a second as well. You know, you mentioned Bryan, the big boss man, being on vacation. Isn't it time for the big boss man to have a gimmick change by now? It's been years for him, right? Maybe it's time for him to become the guardian angel.
The guardian angel. not just the boss. They tried that one for a while.
Well, we don't want to skip over that.
To talk about, we were talking about gimmick, the whole deal. Somebody say, "Oh, Cody going to be back as Stardust." One thing I want to, mention is, 1, he won't be, and 2, one of the questions that I was surprised Dave and Garrett did not get last night, and I brought it up on the show yesterday, was Cody's out of wrestling interest, or his adjacent to wrestling interests, like acting. Obviously, he is interested in acting. The word workshopping and Cody Rhodes has gone together a lot. And he obviously, sees himself and sees the ability for his family to be in reality shows and sees these other things. And I look at the USA Network, which is in the mud. I mean, it is amazing how far that network has fallen, especially when you take WWE off of that network, what their numbers are. I mean, it is terrible. And there's a reason that the E's and their other associated channels under the NBC Universal umbrella, it's why they like shows like The Bellas. It's why they like shows like Ms. and Mrs. I mean, one of the things that hasn't been discussed are the amount of possibilities, I would assume, in this new universe where they're looking for all sorts of content for all sorts of channels that they have on Peacock and the other associated channels. I mean, I would assume this has got to be, at least to me, I look at it and I go, that's got to be part of this, right? It can't just be purely the money from WWE and the spite of being, having your booking duties taken away, would it?
Well, when you look at the business side of things, there's always talk over the past few years, whether it's in pro wrestling or MMA, about business acquisitions, the UFC acquiring other companies, wrestling companies acquiring the rights to libraries, things of that nature. And what essentially WWE has done here is they've acquired another property. If you look at it from the standpoint that not only are you getting Cody Rhodes, Brandy Rhodes, who's been, featured in community outreach programs and media along those lines, but you're also, now dealing with, perhaps people who are watching Rhodes to the Top, Go Big Show?
Go Big Show.
Go Home Show, Go Big Show. And also, what about the Nightmare Factory? You're also, bringing in perhaps another, pipeline of talent that wasn't there before.
I had two people kind of notate to me, what's going to happen with the Monster Factory? What's going to happen there? And it's like, where the Monster Factory, the Nightmare Factory. And, by all indications, Cody Rhodes holds on to that. And we've seen a de-emphasis on NXT as far as the Performance Center, as far as how they're developing professional wrestlers. I mean, they've started a new NXT show, and those people need to get work. Obviously, even though I thought they had a good night last night, your Tony D'Angelo's, Cora Jade, all of these people, they all need as much work as possible. And the ability to send them up to do small shows at the I keep saying that, at the Nightmare Factory in Georgia, and to do things like that and have affiliated gyms again, that's not the worst idea in the world. It's for anything that you want to say. I mean, if they actually look into doing something like that, I mean, that can't hurt, to give people more places to have more experience and more trainers and more people, more hands-on some of these folks.
Yeah, throughout history, WWF, WWE, they've had, multiple territories, AAA, Farm League territories that they worked with. It's only been since, 2010, the mid-2000s, that, there's been really a consolidation into the FCW, the Performance Center. Before that, there was OVW. You had Deep South Wrestling. They worked...
Well, Filthy, at one time, I mean, really, we keep going back to guys from an era where many of them were developed at a time where they not only had Ohio Valley with Danny Davis and Jim Cornette, but they had Heartland with Les Thatcher. They had a relationship with Rick Bassman out in California. They had whatever Memphis promotion they were working with at the time with Randy Hales or Jerry Lawler or however that worked. Kurt Angle and The Rock, obviously two names that went through Memphis famously there. So, that, again, we're obviously, this is all speculation right now because we really don't know how things are going to go. But it was a very interesting thing. I thought that was pointed out that, hey, the Nightmare Factory could be far more beneficial to WWE, and this whole situation than maybe we realize right now. But again, there's going to be a long way to go on this story, obviously, and there's going to be more and more coming out. Dynamite is tonight. We have a whole lineup set up for that. In fact, we might as well go ahead and get into it right now. One hell of a match on paper. Bryan Danielson, Lee Moriarty. We can just start with there, Filthy. I mean, I don't know if you've ever crossed paths with Moriarty before. Obviously, Bryan Danielson mentioned his name along with Daniel Garcia as one of the people that could possibly maybe be brought into a fold if CM Punk accepts Bryan Danielson's or Jon Moxley accepts Bryan Danielson's olive branch that he's extended out there. But You know, we've talked about it on the show the last time you were on, what you do every single appearance with New Japan Strong. Pro Wrestling Be Strongest. Josh Alexander, Lee Moriarty, Fred Yehai, so many people. Bryan Danielson Moriarty tonight. It should be a banger. Maybe it's not the ratings darling for everybody. I don't care. As a wrestling fan, I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everybody looks at, everyone knows what level Bryan Danielson's at, and it's a very, very high level, perhaps the highest level of professional wrestling. And everyone talks about the potential that Lee Moriarty shows, that he's shown in AEW, and he's really been involved in wrestling for a relatively short time for how, phenomenal he is. But this is a style, to me, that's really going to show what Lee Moriarty had. This is like a showcase matchup, not only for him because of the name of the opponent, but because of the type of wrestling that they're going to be able to do. Because Lee Moriarty is well-versed when it comes to lucha libre, technical wrestling. He can do it all, and he's going against somebody else who not only can do it all, but is his equal and his superior in virtually all of those aspects. So it's going to be awesome to see exactly what Lee Moriarty has.
TNT title match, Sammy Guevara, Darby Allin. I was going to say it would take somebody breaking a leg, but Darby Allin could break both arms, both legs, and his, back, and somehow he would still be able to do amazing things. Sammy Guevara has been on fire. Obviously, the match he had with Cody Rhodes, I mean, you want to talk about a going-away present for Cody Rhodes to AEW. I mean, this match right here should be fantastic, Tom, and I'm going with Sammy. Who knows, you could go either way if you want with this, but I'll say Sammy gets the victory, although, depending on what happens with the Inner Circle, maybe that could play a part.
Yeah, I would expect Sammy to retain. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it's time for him to lose that belt quite yet. But, with such a loaded roster, perhaps they just move the title in a different direction. I could see them moving it off of Sammy, maybe using Darby again to set up a different feud and kind of moving in a different direction and leaving Sammy to deal with, Jericho or the Inner Circle or whatever's going on there. So that one, I would expect Sammy to win. I don't know. It feels like a loss would kind of kill his momentum, but I thought that before and been wrong. So we'll see how it goes.
Don't think Darby Allin's going to win the title, go to Defy and defend it against Nick Wayne and then drop it to him. But we can always have some fun fantasy booking this on a radio show. Jericho and Hager against Santana and Ortiz tonight, the Inner Circle. Bottom line for me, and I know we're pushing up against break here, but the bottom line for me with this match, Filthy, is I want to see more Santana and Ortiz in tag team wrestling. I don't care if this starts a feud. I don't care what it does. I just want to see those guys more in tag team matches. And also Mercedes and Thunder Rosa no DQ. I can't see how that's not going to be phenomenally great.
Yeah, I want to see more of Santana and Ortiz in tag team matches, in singles matches. I heard Santana just had a great match with Mike Bailey at Warrior Wrestling this past week. So more of the proud and powerful is good with me. And, another person who's been on absolute fire recently is Thunder Rosa, so that's going to be a barn burner.
She is absolutely phenomenal, and you know what? Things have been going so phenomenally, I'm scared to jinx it, but you know what? We'll be back. Wrestling Observer Live.
Not Serena Deeb. You got one more guess. Britt Baker and who else?
I have no clue. I have nothing.
You can always pass.
Pass.
All right, pass. All right, here we go. The correct answer was Britt Baker and Ruby Soho.
Jesus. All right.
It was a tough one.
They're all tough.
One. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will be back with another round, but in the meantime, enjoy the rest of the show.
show. You know, I got Yeezys that look like moon boots. I do. But I would trade in those moon boots to keep Juan Soto as a Washington National. As producer Dom killing me during the break here about him turning down this extension from the Nationals. I don't blame him. I know what he wants. He wants some of that Filthy Tom money. Some of that Filthy Tom money that he's going to be making at the virtual meet and greet tonight on YouTube, 10 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Don't go to the site right now, because if you do that, you'll still see the Great O'Khan signing that they had from January. So if you go to that link now and you see the Great O'Khan, don't be saying I've been conned by Filthy Tom Lawlor. He'll be on tonight, 10 p.m. There's one of the shirts that you can get right there. Hashtag Fight Dream, 8-Bit, Team Filthy. That's what it's all about. Limelight, Nelson, Isaacs. Who am I forgetting? J.R. Kratos, Filthy Tom Lawlor. And not only that, Filthy, forget about the shirt. Forget about the shirt. It's Valentine's Day. There were people that were lonely. There were people that did not get in anybody's pants on Valentine's Day. For those people, you are going to allow them an opportunity to possibly get in your pants? What is that about?
I am giving away not only a pair of shorts, but the denim overshorts, the strongest denim overshorts on the planet. I am giving away the very shorts that I wear, that you have seen me wear out to the ring on every New Japan Strong show that I've been in. This, Mike, I'm a married man, but I got the hall pass. This is your and everyone else's final chance to get in my pants.
You can do that, ladies and gentlemen. Shop.njpw1972.com/collections. Tokan shop. I don't have to give you all of the links to that. Go to njpw1972.com. Go to the shop. You'll see what it's all about. You can also go to Filthy's Twitter, at Filthy Tom Lawlor, as well as New Japan of America, at NJPW of America, at NJPW Global. No matter where you are, you have the opportunity to not only buy his shirt, support Filthy Tom Lawlor, get him one step closer to going over to Japan, but also the opportunity to win his shorts. Now, have these been laundered shorts, Filthy, or are these right off of Game Action?
They are fresh. You mentioned Game Action. They have been used in game, and they now smell like game meat. So whoever the lucky winner is, be prepared out there. But, Mike, I think what a great segue. We talk about getting in my pants. What a great segue to move on to NXT 2.0.
Yeah, when I think gamey meat.
I thought an awesome show.
I thought it was too, and I got to be honest, I was not feeling very good about this when we got the opening of the show, where we had Mandy Rose poolside texting JC and Gigi about their plans for Valentine's Day. I have a feeling that this was the high point of the show for you.
Well, I thought the show was very good. I don't know if I'd say it was a high point. But, Mike, you may not have liked it, but this is real life. This is how some females on the planet act. Some men do this as well. But I thought this was awesome. It was different.
It was different. That's for absolutely sure. You know, it's like, Gigi is on her bed and Mandy's poolside and JC's in her room. I guess looking at herself in the mirror, going back and forth. And they ran down the show. Mostly they just, sent tweets back and forth to each other. Like, if Grimes wins that title, he can take me to the moon and back. And of course the other girls are like, ew, and send puking emoji faces and all that sort of stuff. But I guess with what their intentions are as far as being the youthful brand, I guess this is what the girls are doing nowadays, right?
Well, I mean, essentially, each girl in there would run down. They would talk about the matches, but they would talk about how hot all the guys are. At least they're not talking about how big of losers they all are. At least they're not saying like, oh my God, Carmelo Hayes, ooh, how gross. At least, these hot, young, attractive women were talking about how hot the other wrestlers were, even Cameron Grimes.
And this is true.
Who's definitely not set up to be a heartthrob. But
this is where
he had his admirer too. So
that's true, and this is where wrestling's at its best historically. You got to have women in there looking at the guys there obviously look at the women and all that sort of stuff. But again, it was goofy, it was different. I was not sure if it was going to set a high bar for the rest of the night, but then they jumped right into the weapons cage match between Pete Dunne and Tony D'Angelo, and this was part of a trend of the night. You'll notice that everybody that was matched up on this show, it is somebody that is young that they're trying to push, working with somebody with vastly more experience than they do. And this was the first example of a match that it's going to be insulting to say that they dummy-proofed the match, but that's essentially what they did. They played to D'Angelo's strengths. He kicked out of Dunn's finisher. They gave him that before Dunn ultimately got the victory. But I thought a good job, once again, for a guy with zero experience in Tony D'Angelo, once again looking good in there. Obviously, he's with Pete Dunne, but again, all the roses in the world going to Pete Dunne for doing some of the things that he did, including taking a superplex off the top of the cage with D'Angelo standing on the ropes, not even sturdy on the buckle, but actually on the rope. So I thought it was a great performance by Pete Dunne.
Yeah, and I mean, I'd like to piggyback off that. Obviously, a great job by Pete Dunne, but you mentioned, Tony D'Angelo as well, and the lack of experience that this guy has. But I mean, you wouldn't know that if you watched this match in a vacuum. Sure, it was, high spot, a big move, but as far as somebody who has 6 months, a year. I don't know how long the guy's been around, for somebody that has that amount of experience. I think he's doing an awesome job. And, a lot of people make fun of the gimmick or, have snide remarks. But if this is the kind of match that Tony D'Angelo is going to kind of always build to, something involving weapons, this is a great character. Because we didn't get the trope of the guy breaking out the handcuffs. What did he do? He had zip ties, something different, So I thought it was great. I thought both guys got over, obviously, even in the loss. I thought Tony D'Angelo looked great, so.
Yeah, and I thought, an interesting, it's, somebody that's old school isn't going to like it, with the zip ties. And, I thought the choke that, I thought the choke that Dunn got on D'Angelo, that D'Angelo needed to, he rolled over to the toolbox that was there and he pulled out the snips and he cut the ties off of Dunn to break the choke. I thought that it was an inventive spot. You could say it's, superfluous and, yeah, you didn't need all that gaga in there. But, that's the whole thing. It was a weaponized cage match. So there was going to be all that sort of stuff. And I thought it was, like you, I thought it was very, very good. And D'Angelo, once again, shows great poise. Toxic Attraction for anything, making, poking fun at the opening of the show. Gigi Dolan and JC Jane. We talk about things that you can't teach, things that Jade Cargill has that you can't teach. Gigi Dolan and JC Jane just have personalities that are perfect to me for professional wrestling, and I think they are gelling better as a team. It's proof that when people are working with each other all the time, that's the only way a tag team can get better. Indy and Persia, I don't know where they're going to go with them as a team. If this is just all going to lead to a Dexter Lumis and Duke Hudson match, I assume that's what it's going to be with the love interests that they have with Indy and Persia there. But bottom line is, I thought it was another good performance for Toxic Attraction, who won the match and hold on to the women's tag titles.
Yeah, this is the first time I think I had seen Persia Pirotta. I'm not a normal NXT viewer, a regular viewer. I'm certainly not a normal viewer either, but I thought Persia Pirotta did a phenomenal job in getting over as a powerhouse. There's very limited females on the roster that can wrestle outside of, a few different roles. And I think having somebody, Persia Pirotta is not gigantic, but having a strong woman, kind of like Micah or somebody of that level, is always good to have around. And this is my first time seeing her in action. I was impressed. I was impressed by her ability to throw around two people at once. So, good match.
We got a Grayson Waller LA Knight promo segment. Long story short, basically what happened was Grayson Waller violated his own protective order, and LA Knight is going to get a match with him. We'll see that on next week's show. Tommaso Ciampa, Dolph Ziggler, we'll talk about them a little bit later on. They play into the main event. They had Ciampa cut a promo on Ziggler a little bit earlier on. Ziggler would cut one a little bit later on in the show. Carmelo Hayes, Cameron Grimes, NXT North American Championship. Cameron Grimes is fantastic. He's great. Carmelo Hayes is everything that, to me, people have been saying about him. He is a star. He is a fantastic athlete. He has got a great package. Him and Trick Williams together are, I think, a fantastic team, and I thought this was the best match of the night. With Hayes' athleticism, even though he's inexperienced, he is coming along so fast. Cameron Grimes is just, bottom line, fantastic, a great worker, and I thought this was easily the best match of the show.
Yeah, Hayes, to me, is a future main roster, main eventer. I guess the only issue is his lack of, discernible size, but we've seen other people get past that, and I think he's going to be another guy who gets over the hump and is a main level star. He's still relatively young. What is he, early 20s?
Very young, yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy the level that he's at, and also not just that, but like the style that he wrestles is pretty much perfect for what the WWE is doing at this point. He hits the facial reactions at the right time. He does poses at the right time, and I am just, blown away, beyond impressed by this guy.
Hey, pushing up on break.
Cameron Grimes as well. What else can you say? Ever since he was Trevor Lee, he's been awesome.
Pushing up on break here, Filthy, but give me your thoughts real quick on the Creed brothers and MSK.
Awesome match. I mean, now that you mention it, that may have been the best match when I think about it. I'm a big fan of MSK, but I'm also a big fan of seeing new guys push, and I think that the Creed brothers are two guys who are as good to push as anyone else. And to see the Diamond Mine with, all of the issues that they've had over the time get the win, and see Malcolm Bivens get the big win, it was kind of cool.
I thought it was awesome, and we'll get into Braun Breaker and Santos Escobar when we get back from break, but the Creed brothers are the most believable tag team out there. They are just plundering and thundering, and I think they are great. I thought MSK did a great job leading them along, and hey, the Creed brothers, closest we can get to Baby Steiners right now, for sure. Speaking of Baby Steiner, we'll talk about him when we get back. Wrestling Observer Live.
Q&A with Impact Wrestling's Mike Bailey, Part 2. Question number 5. What are some of your hobbies aside from wrestling?
I love to cook. I went to cooking school right out of the high school. I love to eat and I love to cook. I am fascinated by food. I didn't work as a cook or chef for very, very long. Only a couple months.
Back on the show, Mike Sempervive here with you. Filthy Tom Lawlor, Wrestling Observer Live, NXT 2.0 Vengeance Day last night. Braun Breaker in the main event against, I keep wanting to call him Phantasma. I've got to stop doing that. Santos Escobar, who, again, it would be insulting. It'd be too insulting to say they dummy-proofed it, but it was a very simple match. With very simple offense by Braun Breaker, him on the defense, very simple. Escobar worked on his neck, worked on the shoulder. There was a spot earlier on that actually, broke. They were worried about it broke Braun Breaker's nose and him suffering trauma on his nose. Just very simple things done very, very well. And Santos Escobar, I know size on the main roster is supposedly an issue with him. To me, he's a star. I could rant about him all day long, but bottom line is he puts over Braun Breaker as Tommaso Ciampa and Dolph Ziggler brawl on the outside to decide who his next opponent's going to be. Braun Breaker, undeniable as far as being a future star, Filthy.
Yeah, I thought both guys looked great. Braun Breaker, started off, like you mentioned, some pretty basic offense, headlocks, shoulder tackles, that sort of thing. And then, in a match like this, it's very important that Escobar looks strong, doesn't get run over. And I thought that he did a very good job of, not looking like somebody who was undersized and underdog. I thought, he did a good job of controlling Breaker, making it look believable. And they really had a great near fall when Dolph Ziggler snuck in and landed the super kick on Braun Breaker. But in the end, of course, this guy is getting the rocket strapped to his back, and he's going to the top. Braun Breaker's awesome.
He is, and we got to go, everybody. Filthy Tom Lawlor on Twitter. Find out all the information you need about the meet and greet, and we shall talk to you again after a while.